Scott Paul is the president and executive director of the Alliance for American Manufacturing. He joins us now from Washington. Scott, good to see you. Thank you very much for being with us. First off, there has been a trend to some return, not big, but some return to U.S. manufacturing. It's actually been pretty steady over the last couple of years, and part of that is labor prices elsewhere and trade deals and lower energy prices in the United States and a slightly improving economy. So is Walmart moving the needle on this, or is Walmart announcing something that's basically already been happening?
It's a good question, Ali, and good to be with you today. I do think that Walmart's announcement is significant because it's a market driver. And other retailers tend to emulate what Walmart is doing. So in that regard, I do view it as a potential game changer. But when you look at $50 billion over 10 years, and considering Walmart has worldwide sales of over $400 billion every year, it's a drop in the bucket. And it will make a difference, but it's not going to move the needle appreciably upwards. I think it will contribute to the idea that consumers want to see American-made goods on the shelves. Otherwise, Walmart would not have done this. They're not doing it out of some sort of altruism. They're doing it because they think they can make money. And I do hope that other retailers will catch on to that, because I do think there is more consumer demand now for made-in-America products, from cars to televisions to kitchen appliances, than there has been for a very long time.
Where does that sort of demand come from? I mean, in a tough economy, in a recovering economy where there are still 16 million people unemployed in the United States, I truly, other than in campaigns and you know, for people to say buy American, I don't really run into a whole lot of people saying I'm really going to make an active choice to buy American. They want to buy the greatest value for their dollar, and generally speaking, in the last 20 years, that hasn't been American.
Well, that is true to some extent, Ali, but as you know, people buy things based on price, based on prestige, based on availability. And the biggest complaint that people have had is not necessarily the price of American-made goods, it's the availability. And when it came to cars, it was also about the quality a decade ago. All of that has changed. And you see manufacturers like Maytag, like Element that's producing televisions, a lot of retailers that are advertising Made in America, because they know consumers are willing to pay a premium, a small premium, but a premium for those American-made products, because it makes them, they know they're getting something great, and it makes them feel good about what they're buying, as opposed to something that they may be buying from a sweatshop overseas. It doesn't affect everyone. You're right about that, but there is there are a number of consumers with disposable income for which this is an important consideration, and I'm glad Walmart's responding to it.
To what degree are increasing wage pressures in Asia having any impact on this sort of a decision?
I do think that increasing wages in Asia are having an impact on the decision that Walmart has made, also the decision that other manufacturers have made to reshore some work. We've seen Apple, Lenovo, General Electric, some other big names make announcements over the last year on that. And I think when you add up rising wages in Asia, and you also mentioned lower energy costs in the United States, the fact that currencies are coming a little more into balance, that makes a big difference. And we find ourselves in a more competitive position now than we did, say, 5 or 10 years ago. And will it mean we're going to recreate manufacturing the way it was in the 1950s, the 1960s in the United States? No, but I do think it's worth pursuing this, and I do think that we will be able to create and hopefully surpass 1 million manufacturing jobs, which was President Obama's goal over the next 4 years.
Scott, I want to bring in my good friend Christine Romans, who's been reporting on a lot of stuff to do with Walmart in the last week. And, you know, this happens once in a while with Walmart. It gets some bad press, and then it does something and gets some good press. It was getting a lot of pressure for saying it didn't want to get involved in that White House meeting with, you know, about guns last week. Walmart is the biggest retailer of a lot of things in America, including guns. Do you think there's any relationship between the bad press Walmart got last week and this announcement this week?
No, I think this announcement was probably pending. I mean, when you're talking about especially veterans initiatives and this Buy American campaign, it was probably percolating. They announced this at a National Retail Federation annual meeting, I think, so it was probably in the works for some time. I don't know that for sure, but I'm assuming just based on my experience. And I'll tell you something about the Buy American point of this. I mean, on one level, it's almost rich when you've got Walmart, a company that would sit down next to suppliers, across the table from suppliers, and say, what do you have that we're going to put on our shelves? The supplier says, this is what I have, and Walmart says, we'll pay you X for it. And so the supplier goes and manufactures overseas so that it can actually meet the price that Walmart has just set. So on one level, when you look at textiles and when you look at furniture, when you look at American-made appliances, a lot of that production has moved offshore, in part because of the price pressure from big box retailers like Walmart. So now Walmart's saying this is a high potential area. In one way, it's a high potential area after it's been driven overseas. Another quick point I want to make about just how much this is: $50 billion over 10 years. That's $5 billion a year. Last year, the United States imported $391 billion of merchandise from China and exported $100 billion. It is not even a drop in a bucket. It's 0.1% of our trade.
Well, this is
deficit.
An interesting point you make, Christine.
Very small.
Let's ask Scott about this. Scott, to what degree are we increasing manufacturing in the United States for the benefit of those people who you say will buy American because it's better value or quality, versus the ability to actually turn around and export things to economies where we hope consumerism is growing, like China? I mean, is that really a reality, that we can take jobs from Asia, build things in the United States, and sell the built product to Asia?
I don't think it's out of the question. I think it's possible. I don't think it's possible in every industry. And let's face it, Ali and Christina, a factory in the United States is going to look different from a factory in China. It's going to be very modern, very automated. It's not going to have 200,000 workers working around the clock to put something together that can be, called in the middle of the night. That's not the way we do things here. But I do think that there are opportunities. And I think, to Christine's point, and I think it's a very good one, Walmart has been a major part of the problem for the last couple of decades. And I'd point out, just to stretch your memories a little bit, in the mid-'80s, Walmart announced a big Made in America campaign saying they were going to bring jobs back, and it proved to be a PR stunt. At the same time, they were citing very specific examples of some products they were sourcing in the United States. They continued to offshore, and so today, Ali and Christine, 80% of Walmart's suppliers are in China, and Walmart itself is responsible for a large portion of that trade deficit that we have with China. So they have to do a lot to turn it around.
The stuff we're talking about recovering is stuff that was once here and not there. I was only 4 years old in the mid-'80s, so I don't remember that. Thanks very much, Scott, for letting me know. Christine and Scott, great talking to both of you. Christine Roman's obviously with us at CNN. Scott Paul's the Executive Director and President of the Alliance for American Manufacturing. Wall Street opens for business in just a matter of minutes. We'll be right back with the opening bell. You're watching World Business Today on CNN.